Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. It's Patrick in the chair. No surprise here. I did give you guys a heads up that I would be in the chair today because Joe would be busy. And he is. I don't know if we'll start there with a Joe update. I don't know if you all have been following his X account or not. I wasn't planning on saying anything because I didn't know how much he wanted us to share. But if you take a look at Joe's X account today, he's at the Eric Kuma deposition in the Patrick Burns trial. So Joe is up close, impersonal, seeing this, hearing this, what's going on. I'm sure can't wait to share, if he can share, what he has learned sitting in that today. Joe, if you're listening, if you want to call in, we'll be ready for you. So if you want to give an update today, feel free, buddy. We do have a guest between 2:15 and 3:15, but other than that, feel free to give us a buzz. I'm sure everyone would love to hear what's going on. Give us an update. Joe should be back tomorrow and in chair tomorrow, from my understanding. So hopefully that is the plan, and that's what's going to happen, so you guys don't miss Joe all week. You know, I do appreciate the time he allows me to fill in for him, but I know I'm not him. This is his big show. You're his audience. He just allows me to be a part of it, which I am very grateful for. But that's where Joe is right now, so I just like to share, being he shared it on X. If you guys haven't checked out his X account, I did drop it into the chat. Real funny, Jeff. I see you. If you were watching yesterday, dude, I told you I would be on. But yeah, drop Joe a message on X. I'm sure he'll get back to you too. But that's what he is up to. So I can't wait to hear how that's going. It's going to be fascinating, I'll tell you that. So yeah, we got a great show for you today. We have a great guest, Cheryl Chumley. She's a podcaster. She is an author. She's a commentator. She's going to talk to us about what's going on in our society today, right? You see the topic of today's show. It's basically America, the insurgency within. There's really no other way to describe what it is that is happening or what's been going on. It's not just happening now, right? This has been a constant build. And it's just now more out in the open than it's ever been. People are more aware, more awake, more knowledgeable of what's going on, but yet the left keeps on creeping. The left keeps taking inch by inch, right? They're not fighting this to win tomorrow, right? They're fighting the long game. It's the communists, right? Communists play the long game. They play the generational game. And with their infiltration within our institutions, specifically today on the public school system, we're going to talk about that a little bit. That's kind of my wheelhouse. I was in that. I know exactly what goes on in the school system. I know what they're doing to these kids. And you see the results of what indoctrination has led to into the streets of these 30, 40-year-old Karens losing their minds on the streets. Woo, woo, no one's illegal. Woo, woo. No, they're part of the PSYOP, right? We're all being controlled. We are all being controlled by the ones above us. Right? But it's because of the useful idiots, the communists down low, the shock troops on the ground that don't have the ability to really think for themselves or to formulate independent thought, just fall into line because they've been programmed since middle school, high school to be these social justice warriors that we see now as 30, 40-year-olds walking in the streets. And they're still cranking these kids out into social justice war. That is still an ongoing thing, right? Their recruitment is the school system, right? The kids don't have to go find these. They find the kids, right? The kids aren't out there. So how can I be a social justice warrior? How can I be more active in my community, right? The kids aren't doing that 12, 13, 16, 17, 18 years old. You know what they're doing? Unfortunately, they're playing video games. They're on their cell phones, a decent amount of them. Then you get the other ones that are actually socializing, playing sports, engaged, right? And then you get the other ones that, unfortunately, are the ones that are the drug users, right? Like, I'm sorry, but there's different aspects of teenagers. There's different groupings, right? None of them are looking to be social justice warriors. They're all trying to find their own way. So what you do is you throw the catch-all at the school. We got them all. and we program them there. And that's how it happens. Right? It all starts with the activist school boards, activist teacher unions, actually, then the school boards, and then the superintendents, down, all the way down. And you see the microcosm, what's going on in society today, right? You just see it like, whoa, right? It's absolutely, absolutely amazing. But yeah, we'll definitely talk about that, especially in all these districts and schools that are organizing these march outs. Half their schools in these districts can't read at grade level. They read at 30% at grade level. Like it's astonishing. In America in 2026, all the technological advancements, the quality of life we offer here in America, the majority of our kids can't read at grade level. But you know, white man bad. Equity is important. Let them keep telling you that. Let them keep telling you that. So yeah, we're going to talk about all that today. We're going to talk about the possible switch up in Minnesota. If you guys have been paying attention over the last 24 hours, massive changes have taken place. Tom Homan's up there in Minneapolis, right? And now there might have been change in tactics that are going on. We're going to get into that a little bit. But let's just get right into this. Like yesterday, I was scrolling X. Like that's part of my job, right? I scroll X to find news, find relevant information that can help formulate a show. And there was this post that I saw yesterday. I liked it, but I wasn't ready to bring it into the show. Today we're starting the show with it, and I found it because Elon Musk, of course, I believe reposted it. But this is going to be from Eric Schwalm, a former retired Green Beret. He posted this on X, and it struck me to a core because to me, this is 100% accurate. Once again, this is one person's opinion, one man's opinion. But this thing hit me as, wow. So I want to just go through this because I think this does a really good job of articulating what we're seeing in the streets in Minneapolis and actually collectively what we're seeing from the higher ups, the bureaucrats, our congressional leaders, right? And our state house representatives that are at stoking this. So this is what Eric had to say when he put this up on X the other day. As a former Special Forces warrant officer with multiple rotations running counterinsurgency ops, both hunting insurgents and trying to separate them from sympathetic populations, I've seen organized resistance up close. From Anbar to Helmand, the pattern is familiar. Spotters, cutouts, dead drops for modern equivalents, disciplined comms, role specializations, and a willingness to absorb casualties while bleeding the stronger force slowly. What's unfolding in Minneapolis right now isn't protest. It's low-level insurgency infrastructure built by people who've clearly studied the playbook. Signal groups at 1,000-member cap per zone, dedicated roles, mobile chasers, plate checkers, logging vehicle data into shared databases, 24/7 dispatch nodes, vectoring assets, salute-style reporting, size, activity, location, unit, time, equipment, unsuspected federal vehicles, daily chat rotations and time deletions to frustrate forensic recovery, vetting processes for new joiners, mutual aid from sympathetic locals, teachers providing cover, possible PD tip-offs on license plate lookups, home-based coordination points, rapid escalation from observation to physical obstruction or worse. This isn't spontaneous outrage. This is C2, command and control with redundancy, OPSEC hygiene and task organization that would make an SF team sergeant nod in recognition. Replace ICE agents with occupying coalition forces, and the structure maps almost one-to-one to early-stage urban cells we hunted in the mid-2000s. The most sobering part, it's domestic, funded, trained somewhere, and directed by people who live in the same country that they're trying to paralyze law enforcement in. When your own citizens build and operate this level of parallel intelligence and rapid response network against federal officers, complete with doxing, vehicle pursuits, and harassment that's already turned lethal, you're no longer dealing with civil disobedience. You're facing a distributed resistance that's learned the lessons of successful insurgencies. Stay below the kinetic threshold most of the time. Force overreaction when possible. Maintain popular support through narrative and never present a single center of gravity. I spent years training partner forces to dismantle exactly this kind of apparatus. Now pieces of it are standing up in American cities, enabled by elements of local government and civil society. That should keep every thinking American awake at night. Not because I want escalation, but because history shows these things don't de-escalate on their own once the infrastructure exists and the cadre believing they're winning the information war. We either recognize what we're actually looking at, or we pretend it's still just activism until the structures harden and spread. Your call, America, but from where I sit, this isn't January 2026 politics anymore. It's phase one of something we've spent decades trying to keep off our own soil. That's deep. And it hit me. And it all makes sense. What you see on the streets in Minneapolis is not activism. It is far beyond that. What happened on Saturday is not activism. Okay, once again, unfortunate incident happened. Both sides are put in an unattainable situation. I'll say it once again. People are out there making irrational decisions on both sides because the stoke and the flames and the fire and the rhetoric and the behaviors are just off the charts, and no one has been the adult in the room to tell everyone to sit down, shut up, this is what we're doing. We have city and state officials demonizing ICE agents that are on the street that are there to remove criminal illegal elements in the community, period, point blank. That's what they're there for. Why are they there? Because they are not allowed to get these people when they're arrested in the jails because city and state jurisdictions do not cooperate with federal ICE for deportations. Why? Because they want to protect the criminal illegal aliens. It's the same story over and over and over again. But this post should really wake everyone up because it is an insurgency. It's not activism. They cause chaos on the streets to force an overreaction. And that's what happened on Saturday, right? There was mistakes made. Okay, from a video I saw this morning, it seems like possibly as the agent was taking away the gentleman's gun and he was moving away, that caused the weapon to discharge. And from there, the other officer opened fire in fear of being shot, I guess. I don't know. I'm not there, but I can understand how something like this can happen. Things spiral, they get out of control, tensions are high, and this is what happens. But this is all purposely being designed by the left. The left refuses to cooperate with Trump. The left refuses to cooperate with immigration enforcement. Trump has a mandate by the American people to enact on an immigration, getting illegals out of this country. A new poll came out today. He's still up in immigration deportations across the board. Majority of Americans support mass deportations. It doesn't matter if they're criminal or not, right? He's at 52-42. That's the number I saw today. 52% approve of it, 42% don't. He's got a 10-point margin right there. The majority of Americans, regardless, still support mass depopulation through immigration because they understand the social, financial, and electoral ramifications having illegal immigrants in this country. And the Democrats understand it too. That's why they fight at every turn. Because they know when they lose these people, when they lose the grift, when they lose this, right, they lose their power, right? We said it earlier. All right? Immigrants, the illegal ones especially, are the political blue chip of the Democrats. They're the golden child. They're the ones who give them the voice in Congress. They're the one who gets the funding for the fraud, then is allowed to actually trickle back into Act Blue and work their way back up into their pockets. All that is happening. Also yesterday, President Trump made a switch. He is moving Tom Homan up to Minneapolis because according to Trump, him and Tampon Timmy Boy had a good conversation and things are possibly starting to take a change in Minnesota. All right, I'm going to play a clip for you. It seems that Minnesota State Police are now actively getting involved to arrest protesters and demonstrators that are hindering ICE operations or preventing ICE officers from actually getting some sleep at a hotel, because that's what happened last night. A2, please, Damon.
You are now under arrest. Please sit down and wait for instruction.
I'm at level 12 news.
I can't hear you.
I'm at level 12 news. BG on the scene. I just pressed.
You don't have any press credentials?
I don't. I can show you
All right, why don't you move out there, okay? Just get out there. Stay outside the line, okay? Coming out. Coming out.
Open chair right next to Charlie Kirk and Dick Green.
They have made multiple arrests.
We got a couple of lighting into the window.
But you see that? You see that? That is actually Minnesota State PD rolling in, busting up, and actually making some arrests of protesters finally. And I wonder why that happened. Because there's a deal made apparently between Trump and Tampon Tim about how they're going to handle business in Minneapolis. And I'm just going to play this one clip, and then I want to bring our guest on. I know Cheryl's ready to join us. I'm just going to play this one clip. It's going to be A4 because Nick Sator went on Louder with Crowder this morning and said something a little eye-opening. Let's play A4, Damon.
One of the stories that I've unfortunately been hearing this morning is that Border Patrol agents have now been given new orders not to, for example, if they were to run a license plate and it comes back as that person is an illegal that Border Patrol was forced to let into the country under Joe Biden, they are no longer allowed to arrest that person.
And is this
even
the first
though they know for a fact that they're illegal?
Is this new information that you're just bringing to light right now? That these new orders? Okay. And I don't want you to reveal your sources, but you have someone who you trust on this. You believe this is a matter of official, actual approach and policy now.
This actually came from two separate Border Patrol agents on the ground in Minnesota. They're very, very frustrated. Obviously, they feel like one of them actually said that this feels like we just reverted to the Biden days.
So yeah, it seems like there's been a deal struck between Trump and Minnesota where ICE will be allowed to take out the criminal illegal aliens, but other illegal aliens that are in Minnesota will be left alone. And I do have a friend that's up there in Minneapolis right now, and he basically confirmed that with me. I asked him this morning after I saw that report, I reached out to him and he says, it's literally changing every day, but I'm not with the field teams. I'm just doing response to the agitators. Last I heard was no consensual encounters only. Targeted individuals and only targeted illegals with criminal history are good to go. Collaterals will also be good to go, but incidentals, not so much. So my buddy's confirming that criminal illegal aliens are on the table to go. And now if you're an illegal alien with a criminal illegal alien, that illegal alien's good to go. But if you're an illegal alien on your own, not fraternizing with anybody, kind of going about your day, minding your own business, apparently ICE and Border Patrol will leave you alone now. So that apparently is the deal that was struck between Trump and Minnesota. So people need to be aware of that. Okay, the left just won. The left took another inch. And that's what they do. Right? They don't care. They don't tone down it. They get what they want. And they take it inch by inch. The playbook is out now on how to get what they want from the Trump administration, which is mass chaos on the streets. You know, some people are going to have to die. Some border agents are going to lose a finger. Some may get assaulted. A couple of our useful idiots may get shot by Border Patrol. But this is the playbook now because eventually we'll get them to stop and we'll get to negotiate what the terms of deportations are. And that's what they just did. So let me get to our guest. I want to bring Cheryl on. She is an online opinion editor, commentary writer, and host of Bold and Blunt. I have a feeling I'm going to like her at the Washington Times. She also produces it for the Real Life Network. She's a Newsmax television news contributor. She is an author of multiple nonfiction and fiction books, and she is also a registered private investigator in the state of Virginia. I wonder how she feels what's going on out there. So yeah, let's bring Cheryl on, and thanks for joining us. Hi, Cheryl. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Great to be with you.
Thank you for joining, even though Joe just couldn't be here today with being in the middle of the Patrick Burns and Eric Coomer deal. So I'm
Sure.
sorry about that.
Good to be with you, Pat.
Same here. Thank you so much. So are you currently in Virginia right now?
I am, yeah. It's, my reaction is, move, right? It took a blink of an eye for this governor and down in Richmond, all the Democrats to just, go after gun rights, raise taxes. The LGBTQ agenda is coming. It's chaos here already.
It's amazing, right? And they moved quick. Didn't she campaign as a moderate though? Wasn't she? I'm a moderate Dem, right?
Yeah, which was bogus. And most people knew that. It's just Democrats always do that, right? They lie about being a moderate. And as soon as they're elected, that's when they go left wing Marxist. And this is exactly what happened with this governor.
And they don't play either. Like, they were ready to roll once they're in. Like, that's the thing. The left play to win. And like, they have their little infights or whatever. But when it's time to roll up the sleeves and get dirty, they rally behind and push and just go. Outside doesn't seem to do that. And this is why I believe we are where we are every 2, 3, 4, 6, 10, every day. I was going to say years, but it's every day. Because we just don't come, from my point of view anyway, we just don't fight. We appease and they come to take. What's your take on that?
So, with the exception of this administration, I would agree wholeheartedly. Usually Republicans, they want to rise above, right? They want to argue the principle, and they think that they can persuade the other side into seeing the logic and sense and pro-America of their viewpoint. Well, the problem is the Democrats are just Marxists now, and they don't care. So this administration, the first Trump administration, I think was a little bit unprepared for the hatred the Democrats have for America. I think this administration, his second one, he's done a lot better about fighting back and laying down the law and saying, no, we're going to instill law and order and do border protection as promised.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I would agree. Like, yes, he is hitting hard on that. He campaigned on shutting down the border, which he 100% has done, right? Like, the southern border is pretty much under lock and key. No one's coming in and out, right? He's targeting the drug traffickers, right? He's done really well on that. What about the rhinos in Congress?
They're always the problem, aren't they? Because, we could have vast majorities in both the House and Senate, like we did the first time when Trump came in. Remember, when Trump first came in 2017, the House and Senate were controlled by Republicans. And all we heard from, I think it was Mitch McConnell, we need the 60 vote threshold. We can't do anything without the 60 vote threshold. And so it's sort of the same thing now. And, rhinos are just part and parcel of this Republican Party. There will always be anti-MAGA, anti-Trump faction of the Republicans. It just makes our jobs harder as citizens who love this country and love what this president is trying to do. It makes our jobs harder, but more necessary.
I hear you. But how can he, because he's got, we're in January, midterms are 10 months away. What's your feel? What does he need to do to kind of get this party organized and moving the needle? Right? We've been in control for over a year. What's our major legislation victories?
Yeah.
What you know what I'm saying? Like, there's nothing that's moving this needle for us as a base to rally behind these Republicans. There's nothing. So how is Trump gonna turn this around and get the Republicans all to come together? To start getting some real things done, maybe defunding sanctuary cities, right? Getting some real stuff that needs to be done to undo the Biden past 4 years and kind of get us on a trajectory where we're not talking 4, we're talking 8, 12 years we're going to have a good run here.
Yeah, and you really raised a good issue because this has been sort of nagging at me for a couple decades now. When we have a new president come in, what do? They write executive orders overturning the previous president's agenda and then the previous president's executive orders. And then the next president comes in and they do the same thing. And meanwhile, Congress gets to go on, Fox News or Newsmax or national TV and cry about the problems in Washington, D.C., but they never have to take votes. They never have to deal with anything legislatively anymore because we have this system now where presidents are just ruling unilaterally. And when our side wins, like Trump, it's a great thing. But like you just said, Patrick, what happens? What happens when Trump isn't there anymore? So you ask the question, I think, that has been sort of nipping at political circles for years. And the only thing I can say is that every time you count President Trump out, he comes up with some sort of strategy that you don't even think of. So I'm going to have faith that he's got something up his sleeve. The midterms have been on his mind since day one of taking his inauguration. So I'm sure he has plans here.
I hear you. And Trump he's in a different class, right? We all agree. He is just in a different class all by himself with everything he does, What I'm concerned about in the Republican Party is possibly the lack of firepower that's coming up behind him as well. There's a lot of people, like I know J.D. Vance, right? You got Marco Rubio. You got those guys hanging around, right? J.D. Vance is popular. But is he popular enough to bring this party to the next level? Does he have the support of Congress? Does members of Congress support J.D. Vance more than Trump? Would the rhinos come on board with Vance?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see in our lifetimes another president like Trump who just does the agenda that in his mind, and usually is right, best for the American people. Republicans and Democrats and globalists and leftists, be danged. He does his own thing, and he does it on behalf of America. What we usually have are politicians who are skilled at cutting deals, right? They go behind closed doors. And I think even the two that you named, J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, excellent candidates, they don't have the stuff that Trump has to withstand the pressure that you get from the Democrats and their minions in the media, right? Because that's what it comes down to. The propaganda is the real selling tool here. So what will happen in the coming years? We're going to go back to a Republican that cuts deals, right? Usually, sooner or later.
Yeah. So speaking of cutting deals, did you hear the start about possibly the deportations in Minnesota kind of changing tactics here?
Yeah, and I was listening to you and your prior guest, and I believe that's part of the difference between Tom Homan, border czar, taking over down there on the ground versus, Department of Homeland Security and Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem had a more, if they're in this country illegally, they've broken the law, they need to go. And that's how a lot, including myself, that's how a lot on the conservative side felt. Tom Homan is more focused on the criminal ones, right? The ones who have a criminal record once they've already committed a crime by entering this country, but then who go on to commit additional crimes. So I think that is what's happening here, yes.
And with that, is that a victory for the left?
Yeah, it is. I heard you say that, and I didn't.
I got you.
I didn't agree, but you, like you said, the left never stops, right? It's not like they have this checklist and they say, all right, we won this and let's move on to the next. No, it's all or nothing. And they are quite willing to take this fight generational if they have to. If it moves it a yard, if it moves it an inch, if it moves it a mile, it doesn't matter. And then if our side comes and pushes back, it's not like they say, okay, you won. They just dig in harder and they send out their minions into the street and they drum up their friends in the media and they press. And so, yes, it is a little bit of a win for the left.
And then let's not forget the lawfare they unleash. Merrick Garland threw how many hundreds, if not thousands of people just walking around the Capitol grounds on Jason, right? Just like their AG, when they're in power, they don't mess around with their AGs. They flex, they arrest. They don't care if the charges stick or not. They go to make a point. Roger Stone, Trump, like weaponizing. They're talking about outside weaponizing. Yeah, okay. Like they use it and they use it well. And they don't care if it's ethical or not. They just want to take care of their political hostages, basically. Right? They'll bankrupt you. They don't care if you go to jail or not. They'll just ruin your life.
Yeah, it's not a political fight for them. It's almost like a religious fight, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is their religion. The Democrats are mostly godless and secularists and even Satanists in some instances. And, this is a fight to the death because they don't have, that belief in a higher power, a higher accountability, another life coming. They don't even have a belief in the spirit of America, right? The idea of God given individual rights and freedoms. They believe in the collective and they believe in political wins, and that's their lives.
When do you think this all started, like, really gaining traction? Do you think this all started, like, I know the movements were in place, right? Like, they were creeping through the institutions for years. People just weren't aware. So you think the gas full throttle 2020 when COVID came and just everything just came pouring out? Or was this hitting the gas before, just people didn't realize?
I think Barack Obama really ratcheted up, all the sort of communism that has been whispered in America for since the founding of America, right? This is sort of the battle in America: individualism versus collectivism, God-given rights and liberties versus government-granted rights and liberties. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you say Americans haven't been aware, because they've allowed themselves to be blinded by the rhetoric from the left. And go back in time 20 years when the Democrats were talking about being progressives. We're more progressive minded. We're just progressives. Well, if you look at what progressivism is, it's basically socialism. What's socialism? But it's basically communism. So they've been blinded by the narratives and the messaging of the left, and they've been afraid to speak up. And COVID was really the wake-up call, thankfully, for a lot of people, but it came too late. Some of us saw this happening 20 years ago and wondered, hey, where have you been?
Yeah, no, and I'm sorry I'm late to the party. I'm sorry I was late to the party. I got a wake-up call around COVID, and then I got whacked in the face with the equity stick when I lost my job as a teacher. I'm actually suing my former school district, federal lawsuit, First Amendment work retaliation, because I identified as a proud American in an equity training, and that was good enough to get me fired.
Oh, wow.
America First Legal is my law group. They took my case. They're representing me as I'm taking on Cherry Creek School District out here in Colorado. We already lost at the district level because the judge said not only the district had a right to do this to me, and it was okay for them to lie to me when they fired me, but I also needed to acknowledge the systemic oppression and what people of color go through. Federal judge actually wrote that in the paperwork. Yes.
Nice. Well, in writing, right?
Insane.
Our lawyers.
My lawyers, yes. We are in the appellate process. We're working our way up through the 10th Circuit. The other side has requested an extension because of just the amount of good stuff my lawyers put together for the appellate court to look at, be like, this is out of control. So yeah, I'm just writing it out. But yeah, I legitimately lost my job. Had to drive Uber for about 4 months. Then I wound up doing front desk work because I couldn't get another job in education because I was blacklisted. My whole career was gone. I was married with he's going to be 4 next month, but this happened when he was 2, March of 2024. It was crazy. So I know what the left is very capable of. They don't care. They will ruin your life. They will lie to ruin your life. They do anything to make sure they get what they want. End of story. And it makes it extremely difficult when the judiciary backs them, right? Like in this country, the judiciary is such a problem because it's ideological beliefs over constitution and principle. How do we rectify the courts in this country?
Yeah, that is going to be a long time coming, right? George Soros started years and years ago putting his money into these local district attorney races, and people were blown away by, these races that used to go for like $1,000, $2,000. A big race would be like $5,000 the candidates would spend. All of a sudden, they were throwing in $100,000, $500,000 to these races, and next thing you know, the law and order in that local community was completely flipped. And so these are things that are going to take some massive education of the American people so they can see how district attorneys and local prosecutors many people, they don't even know those positions exist, never mind what they do. So they can see how those have really infiltrated communities and skewed laws and order.
Hey, don't forget the school board races too.
Oh, the schools, yeah. COVID, the shining light in COVID was so many parents awakening to the socialism their kids were being taught in the public school systems, right? Parents all of a sudden at home watching what their children were watching their teachers teach, and they were shocked. And we took back some school boards after that, after COVID.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It was definitely a wake up call to a lot of parents seeing some of the work their kids were bringing home or actually having to do in front of them now. It shocked a lot of parents. Still not enough though. Still not enough. And my heart breaks for the parents that know that the schools are corrupt, but they have no other option or can't send their kid to another. Like my heart breaks for those parents, the ones that are working all the time. They can't be at home. They know the schools are corrupted, but I have to send them because there's no other option and I can't afford a different option.
Yeah.
We got to do better. We got to do better. What's your take on let's talk about you familiar with DEI?
Yes, a little bit. I don't have any experience, but yeah, no, I haven't been fired because of it. But yeah, I was in the military, and then when I saw that Barack Obama and Joe Biden had pushed DEI into the military, I started covering some of the issues that were coming out of there, which were crazy. And the corporate world just went nuts for a while. Thankfully, they're starting to come back a little bit. But, did you notice at Davos now, Klaus Schwab is gone, right, from World Economic Forum, but who's taking his place? Larry Fink of BlackRock, who was one of the biggest, gremlins, the biggest enemies of American freedom in the corporate world. He pushed DEI. So I don't think that issue is going away yet.
No, it's not, and it's fascinating to me that the courts have even ruled that this type of work is really unconstitutional when you're segregating people based on race, making quotas based on race, but yet it's still being pushed. And I wonder how people feel about it. Not me and you, but I'm talking about the people that are hired because of DEI. Do they take it as like, oh, I got hired because I'm Black or Hispanic, or do they believe I got hired because I got the right stuff to get this job, right? Because doesn't this create such it just puts the doubt in someone's mind whether or not someone is qualified or not if they're getting a job if we're injecting race into the decision. Are we not? We're eliminating merit. So isn't it already just planting the seed in everyone else's mind now? Hey, is this person really qualified? Or it's not doing any good in society is kind of where I'm getting.
No, the tokens, right? That's what we used to call them. Token, whatever, fill in the blank. And to me, if I had been a token female hire, I would have been insulted if I found that out. And I think that you're right. How do these people who are brought on board based on factors that have nothing to do with their skill level or less to do with their skill level than the color of their skin, how do they feel about it? I suspect a lot of them actually like it, right, to be honest. But I do think that there's a small percentage out there that they would like to see this done away with, and they would like to be recognized for their skills and talents and not their skin color.
America, right? Like cream rises to the top.
That's right.
Keep it simple, stupid, right? Like that's why we were dominating and what we were for so many years, because the best rose to the top. And now if you take a look where we are, we're all over the place. What are we actually functioning well in society? What do you think? What do you think we're doing well as a country? Like culturally, let's talk cultural.
Yeah, the culture is a little bit of a mess. So I was going to say, to tail off DEI, this administration did make an announcement about merit is back, right? I think it was J.D. Vance.
Yep.
Put out that message, and they were talking about how DEI was going to be attacked by this administration and frowned upon and prosecuted if possible, and then it was merit that was going to lead us in America once again. You ask about the culture. That's a tricky one because, politics is downstream of culture. And the reason our political system is in such chaos is because the culture has been wrought for, I don't know, put a number on it, since the 1960s, and getting worse. So what are we doing well in culture? We saw over the last few years, we saw some random get-togethers, spiritual uprisings on college campuses. The sort of prayer vigil that took root, and lasted not just an hour or an evening, but went on day after day after day. And as a Christian, and as somebody who's the exceptionalism of America, rooted in the idea of God-given individual rights and liberties, and that in place, you God. I look at that as a good turn in America's culture.
And I want to follow up on that. There was a leader of that movement. We all know who that leader was, Charlie. Charlie was that figure that was able to go out there, talk God, and still connect to the younger generation. So popular amongst all different demographics, but especially at the college level, those kids really enjoyed seeing and engaging with him in those debates. He never demeaned anyone. He challenged people. He made them think. He made them unpack what they were saying, to have them, get that epiphany moment, like, oh, maybe this isn't really what I should be thinking or feeling. And then what happened to him?
Yeah, shot and killed, right? But okay, so Charlie Kirk, what he represented was basically the spirit of America, and you
Yes.
can't hear it. So what happened right after? What happened? It reignited the entire spirit once again. And it's not as, Charlie Kirk is dead, but it's not as if the message or what he represented and the spirit of what he carried forth was dead. And I think that younger people were shocked by that. And excuse me, many who otherwise would not have been involved in politics got involved in politics.
Yeah, and that was probably the most shocking thing I've seen on TV. And I saw the plane hit the towers, right? But like, you saw up close and personal a guy get his neck blown out on national TV, and then the left openly celebrate.
In Minneapolis. Yeah, I just heard a clip of somebody in Minneapolis, crowing about Charlie Kirk being dead.
So how do we come together, left and right? How do regular citizens that are left and right, like I'm a conservative now. I used to be left. I'm not going to lie to you. I was at a Bernie Sanders rally 10 years ago when I was out here. I was ignorant, but my journey's been a while. How do a regular person like me from the right and a regular person from the left actually coexist in a country where we both disagree fundamentally on everything? How does it work?
So,
like if that was my wife, we would get a divorce, right? But we can't. Can we do that here?
So you ask kind of a big question, but very casually, as if, oh, okay, let's do this. So that is the question everybody's asking right now. And look, I share your background because I used to be a leftist as well, born and raised in Massachusetts, to far leftist Democrat teacher parents, right? So it's just check there. And on top of that, I was raised an atheist. So, I've had quite a switch in life as well. And look, we have to realize that not all will be convinced of our way. Okay. So there is definitely going to be a large percentage in America that no matter what will hate, because that's what they're here in life to do. They're angry, they're haters, they're atheists, they anti-America, anti-everything. Their entire vision for their lives is to disrupt and cause chaos. So we can't try and convince them, right? You can't engage in logical, persuasive conversation with lunatics. So we have to let those people go. But where the middle ground is with the independent-minded, it's education, and it starts with respect for different views, okay? It's very difficult when you get wrapped up in politics and passion to not look at the person with the opposite view as if, what are you, a nut job? To leave that type of rhetoric behind and try and find out why they think the way they do. And usually it's because they were raised that way. And if they're Democrats in this day and age, it's because they haven't come to realize that the Democrat Party is not the Democrat Party of 20, 30 years ago. Pro-workers, pro-union, pro-America. They're Marxists now. So You ask how? I think by having conversations, like Charlie Kirk used to, but I think by going after the education system, really. The public school system must be taken back by more conservatives. Otherwise, we're just going to have the next generation of marching Marxists.
I couldn't agree with you more. That education system to me is problem number one. Up there you
Absolutely.
are. Yeah, and it's not at the college level. Like everyone thinks it's the colleges. It is not. These kids are educated, indoctrinated, and primed at the middle and high school levels before they even get to college. They have experienced activism in their classrooms. They have experienced activism from their teachers. I would say it's 80-20 in education, 80% liberal, 20% Republican. That may be even a little bit high. But they get majority female, white, liberal women in front of them every day, teaching them subject, right, their content, but mostly they're programming them based on current events. Like we played clips last week about a couple of these teachers screaming at their classes about Renee Good and how evil ICE agents are. That's not your place as a teacher. You could facilitate that dialogue between students and allow students to engage in that dialogue with each other, and you be the adult in the room and control that conversation. But your job isn't there to lecture them about ICE is bad and that guy shouldn't have. You're not there to make that call. But teachers feel that they are entitled and emboldened and empowered to do that because it's the messaging the left wanting to get out in front of kids.
And this didn't just happen. This isn't just a happenstance thing, right? That a few years ago, in one of the books that I wrote, "Socialists Don't Sleep," I did a chapter on the school system, the public school system, and the Democrat Socialists of America, DSA, right?
Yep.
Their website. They had at the time a newsletter put out encouraging their members to go into the profession of public education, teaching, administrating, even staff in public schools, K through 12. And they laid out their reasons. And among their reasons were, of course, they have a chance to influence the next generation of leaders in their socialist ways. But they also brought out points like you can't fire easily teachers, right? Because they're shielded by the unions. And they have a chance to go into class and just advocate on behalf of the far leftist side of thinking, and they can't be fired. So there was a whole frightening bullet point list of reasons why the DSA wanted members to go into teaching, but they've done it. A lot of these union rallies that you saw over the last few years take place. I think there was one in Wisconsin, a couple others around there where they all wore the red or pink T-shirts. Those were DSA teachers. They were people who were members of DSA who had gone into teaching.
I got another confession for you. I used to be a real advocate in my union through the Colorado Education Association for the Teachers Union, and that woke me up too, because I would go there. But I joined the union because I truly believed in getting better conditions for teachers and staff. I wasn't there for the minutia. I legitimately was there to try and figure out how I could bring back to my union, right? Because I would go up to the CEA, the Colorado Education Association. That's the lead teacher union in Colorado. So I was from Aurora Public Schools at the time, as going back and forth between them. And I remember one of these meetings I was at, they were talking about getting together with our LGBT community, with our Muslim community, and I forgot the third one. And they went into the whole thing as we're all marginalized groups, and we all need to come together and support our marginalized communities so that collectively we're a bigger block. And that's kind of how the teachers unions work. They operate this way, and they align themselves with other different groups within the communities, right? Like what's going on in Minneapolis right now. I guarantee there's Minneapolis teachers unions that are aligned with Antifa that are getting on the streets. It just fascinates me that there's really nothing that can be done to purge the education system of activist teachers, unless the district wants to purge those teachers. But the districts don't want to purge those teachers because the districts want those types of teachers in front of their kids. I was the one that got purged. I was the one that got purged because I said I'm an American that loves this country. They want people like me out, and they want brainwashed people in there in front of our kids to indoctrinate them so that they're the useful shock troops for forever, for whatever cause they get called to.
So the first line of defense when you go to counter that would be the parents, right? And yes, I know we have a whole problem in this country about broken homes, so this is where it falls apart. But at the same time, I have 4 kids. My first 3 kids went to public school. My fourth, when she was in 6th grade, I yanked her out and put her in private school affiliated with our church because she was afraid to use the bathroom. Barack Obama had issued through his education department an order saying that you had to open the bathrooms in public schools to both boys and girls so they could choose where to go. And she didn't want to use the bathroom. She was afraid a boy was going to be next to her. So that was the final straw. But my first 3 kids, when they were in public school, used the occasion, when they brought home their science book and it was filled with climate change, BS, and they brought home their comics and it talked about Marxism and history, when history was skewed, and it talked about George Washington being a racist and a slave owner, and without the context of the time, I would use that as an occasion to teach them the proper way, the correct fact-based, in context, history or scientific fact. And then that way they were kind of armed with both sides, right? They knew they got their leftist propaganda in public schools, and then they come home and they get the facts. So when they graduated, it was sort of armed with the facts on both sides of the issue to better support their cause. So parents can do that when they don't have ability to send their kids to private school.
There you go. That's a great little tip for everyone that's listening. 100%, you got to arm your kids, because if you don't arm your kids with your knowledge, your values, your principles, the left will. It's one or the other. You have to give them the defense mechanism to survive in the real world. And to them, the real world is going to school. Like, that is absurd, but that's the reality of where we're at. The suit of armor we have to put around our kids is inside their heads every day before they walk out that door, excuse me, before they go into the school system, which is supposed to be there to teach them. It's absolutely amazing to see all this and just talk it out loud with you and just basically relive it, but like unpack it at the same time is just, it's infuriating to me, because I got ahead in life because of the education system. So I grew up in a single mom household on welfare in Queens, New York. I lived in a 3-room apartment. And statistically, I'm not supposed to really achieve. I'm not supposed to make anything of it. But I was able to make something of myself because of education, and I had teachers that helped me. It really bothers me to think back now that maybe some of I missed it, or they did indoctrinate me, but I survived the indoctrination. It makes me question what my teachers did to me when I was going through school, because I didn't pay attention to it so much as a middle school, high school kid. High school, thank God I went to a Catholic school. But in middle school, elementary school, it's hard to want to look back at some of the teachers that I believed had really a big impact on my life, but they were actually kind of guiding me a different path. It's a weird dynamic that I'm playing in my head right now, because one of my teachers, Ms. Greenbaum, that I'm thinking about, it's just weird to me that this has been going on for years. And I'm just so grateful I made it out. And I'm normal, to say the least. At least I think I'm normal. Don't ask anyone that knows me. But the education system needs to get blown up. Not blown up, sorry, wrong term. It needs a massive overhaul, because if you're taking away American values and the belief that America is good from teaching our young kids just that basic premise, right? Look what you get when you teach kids that society is systemically oppressive, regardless if you agree with it or not, which we know it's not, right? They interject race in everything. Have you ever heard of affinity groups in schools?
No.
Oh boy. Okay, so affinity groups is leadership groups for kids in schools, but based on race. So you have Black groups, Hispanic groups, Asian groups, LGBT groups, you have Muslim groups, you have all different marginalized groups that are segregated out just solely based on race. And these kids are then allowed to meet and discuss maybe some microaggressions or racism that they are believing they are experiencing at the school level. So schools then put these, yeah, I see you, yeah. They basically prime these kids to be ready for, let's find racism, everyone's done wrong here, everyone's done wrong here. And that goes on in public school systems, that they actually segregate kids based on race in these groups called affinity groups.
Wow. Wow.
Yes. And at one point at my previous job, we had a black affinity group, and a student in that group was not considered black enough by some of the other students in there because he was of a mixed race, mixed family. Mom and dad were not both black. And that created... I'm sorry, can you say that again?
He gets his own group then, right?
That's what they did. Then was created a multiracial group.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Way to prime the next generation to destroy America, right? What happened that we go from the melting pot to just a little group for everyone, and then they all get pitted against each other by Democrats who exploit them for political wins. It's crazy.
Yep. And have you heard Mamdani's? I think it's Mamdani's new phrase. We're not the melting pot, but we're the salad. Have you heard this one?
No, I haven't heard that, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, with a chef salad, right? Like everyone in the salad, right? The lettuce is here looking all on its own. It's not mixed up with the dressing on it, right? It's all sectioned off. You got the cucumbers here, you got the carrots here. Everyone's got their own little pot, but we're not intermingled. Yeah, just taking away America, just what America was. That's what the left does. They attack our language and they use it against us at every turn. And that's what I believe caught a lot of Americans off guard, especially during the COVID with the blitz towards equity and systemic oppression, white racism, all that stuff, white guilt, all got thrown around, and people just got blitzed out of the gates. And people are like, I'm going back. Okay, this must be true. This must be true. And Barack Obama was one of the worst ones, because I'll never forget this quote: racism is in the DNA of America. I believe that is the one sentence from him that really summarizes what that man was about. He was the race baiter. He set it in motion. And for him to say that after he was elected by a majority white country is completely out of control. And he was never held accountable for that because the media sides with the left. Sorry.
He wouldn't have won without the white vote. It was crazy. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Barack Obama really just, he brought the race hatred and race baiting in this country to an entirely new level. We're still dealing with it.
Yeah. And if you see Michelle, she's out there doing the same stuff now. She just gave that you see the little snippet interview about we should be mindful about the clothes we have in our closets as she's wearing a $1,200 skirt. That I saw. It's all grift and fraud. And I just do people not have conscience that perpetuate, like, do they not have conscience? Do you really think are they just like nothing back there?
Yeah. So the way I look at it, when I look at what the Democrat Party has become, they're godless. They don't have that moral compass that should be, in all of humanity. I think they're just in it for the political wins. And they don't have the fear of accountability of another lifetime or anything like that. So, yeah, I don't think that they have that moral compass, that sort of grounding in morality.
It's amazing. And yet these are the people the ones that are on the streets that have no thought process look to, right? It's amazing. It's amazing. And what about the media? Where's the media going in all this?
Yeah, see, that's a huge one for me because I've seen it for 30 years now from the inside. I came up from small town newspaper and radio reporting, and I've been working with people in the media who they think nothing of going after conservatives. They think it's part and parcel of their, job as a journalist, and they think nothing of defending Democrats. They think they're doing the good work of America and of the First Amendment. And the media now is really, as Donald Trump has said, it has become an enemy of the people. It really is going from basic journalism or even opinionated journalism to attack journalism with select targets. And those targets are almost always conservatives, MAGA types, pro-America patriots.
Yeah, they did the long march through the media too. What they did in the school system, they did in the media. Did they not? They control it, don't they? The left.
Oh yeah, the corporate media is like a different beast, a different animal. But if you look at members of the media, the ones that sit in the White House, for instance, who
Yep.
go with Carolyn Levitt. I mean, those people aren't even journalists. I'm an opinion now, but like I said, I spent years and years in journalism. I know the difference between putting something in a fact-based form versus putting something in an opinion form. And these people masquerade as if they are like, I'm an unbiased journalist, getting at the truth, when really everything that comes out of their mouth is opinion, and it's slander and slime against this president and administration.
Facts. And let me ask you this. What's your opinion of Mr. Don Lemon as a journalist? What happened over the past couple of weeks? Well,
Yes.
years, but the past week, 2 weekends ago.
Yeah, I think he knew full well what he was doing, what he was getting into. And I think that what's going to trip him up is he took to social media after the judge, the local judge, right, the local leftist judge, refused to indict him. And he thought he was scot-free. He took to social media and he cut this video daring the Justice Department to come and get him. And so what happened? Harmeet Dillon responded and she said, okay. So I think Don Lemon is going to face some repercussions for what he did. You can't storm a private business, not even as a journalist, right? Or a private building, which is what a church is, not even as a journalist, and then cry First Amendment. It doesn't work that way.
No, I agree. And then he had the gonads in there to say also when the priest was trying to back him up, don't touch me, I'm a Christian, when this guy is ambushing his service. There's nothing up there. It's amazing. It is victory at all costs, no matter what. And more people on the right really need to wake up and understand that this is the fight that's never going to end. I've come to that realization. I believe this is a fight that will never end.
It's really only going to get more difficult because as we do more medicating of youth and legalize, medicines like hallucinogenics in some states or jurisdictions and marijuana, and, you're raising these kids already in the public school system to not have critical thinking skills. They're just going to go out into the world, just, knee jerk in the wind, whatever way their emotions take them without having any powers of logic or thinking.
Bad recipe, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's powder keg, yes.
Yep. That with these things attached to their face.
That's right.
Right? And once the algorithm catches you, whoop, it's off to the races. What's your thoughts on how? First off, sorry, I just lost my train of thought because I looked at myself in the phone and I thought, wow, I have a big face. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. With education with these kids and what's turning out into the streets, how do we get the parents re-engaged with the kids? Do you have an answer for that? Do you know how parents can re-engage with their kids, ones that are lost?
You brought up Charlie Kirk, and let me go to what he used to say, because I think this is a good example of what we should be emphasizing. He talked primarily to young men, telling them to get married, have kids, have families, right? That sort of discussion has been pushed to the side in America. It's all about hooking up and being independent, and I don't need a man, or I don't need a father. I can do this by myself as a woman. We need to get back to embracing the idea of traditional family values as a country and not being afraid to push back on those who say that other types of family units are just as good. When transgenders or two men say that they can have children and they're just as good at parenting children as, a traditional family unit, we can't be afraid of saying, nah, that's not really true. And now we have data that actually show that. So I think that could be one thing we might want to do, bring back the popularity of traditional family units.
That's a great point. I can't agree more. I didn't have one growing up, but I am making sure I have that for my kid, because I know how much I missed not having that as a child, not having
Right.
my dad there. There's a difference. And not having a mom, it's a different hit, right? Like having both parents, that mix is extremely important. You know, when dad's got to come in and just shut it down, or when mom's got to give that extra long hug, right? Or sometimes it could be mom shutting it down and dad giving that. But you need both of us, you need both of them there, is the point.
And fatherhood fathers and manly masculine men have been really downgraded in this society, right? There should be strong men in the home to raise girls to know how a man is supposed to treat them.
Yes.
When I see promiscuous young women, I automatically go to thinking something happened in their home life where they didn't have a strong father figure, right? Because then they let the culture define how men are supposed to treat them, and they bought into that. They didn't realize that they're not supposed to, have sex with, for fun, or just some of the moral compass that we used to have. So I think that is extremely important.
That's a great point. And I could think back at my time as being a dean at the high school and middle school level, the young females that tended to be in my office did not have the dad figure at home. It was typically a single mom that was either working, doing this or doing that with the other child, right? Like just, they didn't have the attention. They didn't have the structure, and they didn't know what their self-worth was because it wasn't instilled in them every day at home. That no, you don't need this 14-year-old boy to smile at you. You don't need his attention. But that's what a lot of these young women in schools now are looking for, is they're looking for that affirmation from the male because it's not at home. So they find it somewhere else. And that leads to teenage pregnancies and all that other stuff, right? So yes, two parents in the household, strong values, strong principles, strong self-worth, right? Because the mental standing of our youth is in the trash. It's in the toilet. The overall mental health of our young generation, collectively, it's not high. Like, they're not doing well. And I believe a lot of it has to do with the home life and the social media aspect. And it's just a toxic mix. If you don't have that structure in place, you could lose your kids. I've seen it too many.
I couldn't agree more. And you bring in social media, right? Like that's taken over as sort of friends, and now it's strange to me. I see, when I drive down the street, when school's in session, I see kids standing at a bus stop. They're right next to each other, and every one of them is on their phone, and it's so alien to me because when I was growing up, right, we were all at the bus stop talking with each other, and I think that it's very isolating, and it comes as an isolation at a time when you already feel isolated, right? Teens always feel different. They always feel an outcast. And then to add in the social media aspect to it, it's even more isolating.
And then drop in trans ideology on top of them too. And you got another perfect powder keg for the kids. That's why the trans data is through the roof, because they grow in pockets. Right? Like, it's a social epidemic amongst our youth that no one actually calls it out for what it is. It's actually affirmed in a lot of blue cities and blue states. And these kids go to school. I'm leaving home. I'm Brandon, the dad, but I come to school and I'm Grace, and my mom and dad don't need to know about it. It's crazy what the school system can do to a kid and how they work to actually hide things from the parents. Like, school and parents should be interlocked. There should be no reasons to hide anything from anyone. Well, dad might get mad. So what? Dad has every right to get mad. That's not your concern. Dad can be frustrated with being informed about the behavior, or that his kid's going into a girl's room and he's a boy. Yeah, the normal dad should be pissed if he doesn't know that's going on and then gets a phone call, right? So but these schools think they're protecting kids, but all they're doing is harming them more and more, left and right, instead of allowing the parents to figure it out. They interject themselves in between kid and family, and no one succeeds. You just get a hot mess.
Yeah, it's very difficult if you're a parent and you have a child in a public school system right now, because it used to be you could trust the teachers. You could trust that when your child was in school, that the teachers were generally there to protect and educate your child. And now it just seems like you have to worry about what type of propaganda are they being fed, and you have to be on your guard at all times.
Yeah, it's got to be exhausting. I'm not there yet. My kid's 4. And the problem is I actually live in the district we're suing. Like, it's a hot mess. Like, there is no way I want to send him to that district because he'll have a target on his back. But I don't know what we're going to do with him yet. Yeah, I laugh at it. It's not funny, but I laugh at it because there's nothing else I can do right now. My wife and I. My wife, yeah. I don't want to get down that rabbit hole, but it's crazy. I moved to the district. I moved to the school district before I got a job in it because I wanted my kid to go to that school district. Because it was all great things I heard. Yeah, all great things. And then once I got in there and saw under the hood of the car, whoa. And then yeah. Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. It's not fun to live, but it'll be fun one day, I promise you. I'll have a great story to tell one way or the other. But that's all I got. Cheryl, where can our audience find you? Where can they get you?
WashingtonTimes.com. You can go to my Substack under my name or find me on X at CK Chumley. I'm out and about online quite a bit.
I know. I see you. We have you. I'm going to drop your stuff into the chat so our audience members can follow you and find you. I really enjoyed our conversation today. I hope you did as well. I will let Joe know you need to talk to Cheryl now. I had my turn. It's your turn next time, Joe. And I guarantee you guys are going to have a good time.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. You have a good day. And good luck in Virginia. Good luck out there.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye. Cheryl is a rock star. You guys got to check her out. I will be getting her links into the chat. I dropped her Washington Times into the chat. I'm getting to her X account now. I'm going to move it in there for you. But she's a rock star. Well-informed, knows the deal, pulls no punches. Heck, that's why. That's why she's the host of the Bold and Blunt podcast. She says it how it is, and I get along with people like that because there is no time to sugarcoat things. There's no reason to sugarcoat things. We need to call everything out all the time because that is the only way. That is the only way we could move the needle like Tommy was talking about yesterday. So I want to go back to the rundown for a second. We were talking about illegal immigration and what's going on in Minneapolis, whether or not all illegal immigrants are going to go or just the criminal ones, right? As of now, it just seems like it's the criminal ones now that are going to be the target focus. The left has gained that inch. But I want to put this post up. It's from America First Post. It's them talking about what they have received from a federal source. So what they have put up is that a federal source is given America First Post official deportation numbers for ICE, revealing that the admin has, as of January, deported 373,000 individuals, with CBP deporting another 300,000 plus. The deportations came from across the nation, with Texas and Florida accounting for about a third. And it's apparent that local law enforcement support vastly increases agents' ability to deport. 7 of 10 of the safest U.S. cities cooperated with ICE, while 5 out of 10 of the most dangerous cities refused to do so. ICE's manpower is allocated to Minneapolis at about half the efficiency of Miami-Dade County. Miami has about twice the population and half the officers as Minneapolis. Ultimately, sanctuary cities cause horrible conditions for officers and make deportations wildly inefficient and hazardous, while Democrats abuse this loophole for political capital, retaining electoral votes, congressional seats, and swaying elections. As of Trump's inauguration, to deport the supposed 40 million illegals in the country and to revoke birthright citizenship, the admin would have to deport nearly 30,000 illegals per day. It's becoming more and more apparent that law enforcement deportations alone cannot solve the problem. Crackdowns on employers, debanking illegals, and making it impossible for them to function in American communities are necessary in order to incentivize self-deportations. Polling maintains that the majority of the country supports deportating every illegal immigrant in the country, but tragedies in Minneapolis have caused the Trump administration to worry about electoral backlash against the popular position. Republicans at large are calling for the Trump administration to support ICE and increase pressure against Democrats while dramatically increasing deportations. So what does that post basically check the box of? This is the game the Democrats play. It supports everything we talked about earlier in the show. This is the long game. They take victory by victory, inch by inch by inch, because an inch game to them is an inch loss to us. That's how they play the game. And Republicans play to appease. The left, the communists play to win. The communists continuously play to win. The Republicans don't. Therefore, eventually the long game will be communists will win. Unless they don't. And that has to be stopped through Trump. Right? He needs to beat these guys back. You need arrest. We talked about, Cheryl talked about it. Right? Soros, that name, the funding to these protests. You have to cut out the finances of these guys. You got to cut their legs out. Neville Roy Singham, that name ring a bell. He's an American in China that funds these NGOs that are on the ground protesting in Minneapolis. It's proven. We've covered it on the show. We've covered it on our special, Islamification of America with B. We've covered it. We have the actual document. We show it. Neville Roy Singham connected to Democrat Socialists of America, DSA, right? DSA. Go take a look at that mind map. It's all there. Excuse me. But the left continues to play inch by inch by inch. And there's a reason they're able to do this, and we'll talk about it towards the end of the show, but they have nothing else in their life. That's simply it. The left have nothing but the left. That's it. The right, we have work, we have family, we have friends, we have interests, we have hobbies, got kids. Shit, we got a life. That's what it comes down to. People on the right have a life. People on the left really don't. And that's why they do what they do. Because it's a religion to them. That's all they have. That is all they have. And that's why we see what we see. And we're going to get into the hijacking and brainwashing of our children. We got into that with Cheryl. I had no idea it was going to go that way, but that was a great conversation. And it leads right into the rest of the show, because what's happening in the streets can't happen without what has occurred in the education system over the past 30, 40, 50 years. Plain and simple. You have ignorant people on the streets, 40, 50 years old. How are they so ignorant? Because they're indoctrinated. They have no ability to comprehend, to form individual thoughts, to critically think for themselves. They don't have it. What did Anderson Cooper say today? ICE is bad. Okay. That's what they do. Right? The destruction that our education system has unleashed on our kids can't be calculated. It's undeterminable. It can't be determined. Right? The system dominated by white liberal women that argue that the white male is the greatest threat to the minorities of our communities. That's what is injected into the schools. That's what is injected into the schools by white liberal women. It is crazy. The ones that argue that the schools are racist are the ones that are in charge of the school system. So who is the actual racist one? White liberals. They're the racist. When they talk about diversity, what does that actually mean? Just a question. Diversity, what does it actually mean? So when you talk about diversity in education, this is what it means. Diversity means you need people of different color at a table. Why? You need black people at the table, you need brown people at the table, you need LGBTQ at the table. Okay. Do all black people think the same? Could a black conservative think differently than a black liberal? And how do you know which one you're going to get at the table if you just worried about skin color? Because you don't think that black or brown or LGBTQ or gay or, right? You don't think those people that you have in those boxes can actually have different thought processes from each other. Equity, baby. That's what it is. So when you talk about having diversity, oh, we just want black and brown people to, why? Do they all think the same? How do you know you're getting someone that thinks differently than you or the same as you? It doesn't matter, you just put the skin colors different. That doesn't mean there's nothing up here that relates to independent thought. White liberal women, racist. Equity, racist. Truth of the matter. So let's take a look. We got a couple of school districts that are making the show today. First off, the superintendent of Lawrence Public Schools in Kansas, right? Lawrence Public School in Kansas, big city in Kansas, in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. Well, the superintendent of Lawrence Public Schools in Kansas sent out this notice to parents basically supporting a walkout to protest ICE, which will take place during the school hours. Students and staff are participating in the protest. Our public schools are just left-wing indoctrination camps. Homeschool your kids and take a look at that. I guarantee there's pronouns at the bottom of that. I guarantee there's pronouns on her door. Take a look at that right there. That is a superintendent making six figures in Lawrence Public Schools in Kansas, right next to the University of Kansas. The University of Kansas is in Lawrence, Kansas. That's a superintendent makes six figures. Glad they got their priorities straight. 38% of their students are proficient in reading. 32% of those students are proficient in math. But they are making sure they got their actual social justice activist warriors ready to go. Get them used to protesting. Get them used to caring that I don't feel right about a certain thing. I have to go march. I have to go protest. Lady, almost 7 out of 10 of your kids can't read. Like, what are you doing? But that's what the school system is. It's about mobilizing and creating shock troops over and over and over again, right? Earlier, I think it was last week, we did Boston Public School, right? Their math and reading proficiency levels are in the toilet too, right? It's a common trend pretty much throughout this country. But yet, you have these districts that kids are below 50% at reading and writing and doing math in. Why are you organizing protests where these kids are going to miss more class time? I simply don't understand, okay? If you cannot read, if you are struggling to read and struggling to write and struggling to do math, the last thing you should do is be missing class time during the school day because ICE is deporting criminal illegal aliens. But once again, this is what our public education system wants. They want good little social justice warriors that will follow what their superintendent wants them to do. Top down, not even student-led, top down. And what, a superintendent and teachers can't be the adults in a room? No, you're not leaving school today. Oh, you feel very passionate about it. Okay. How many kids feel passionate about it when it's on their time? How many kids at the high school and middle school level would organize after school or organize on a Saturday or Sunday on their time if it really mattered to them, right? They wouldn't, because it doesn't matter to them. It matters to them because it's during the school day and I don't have to sit in class for a half hour. That's why it matters. That's why it matters to teachers too. Teachers are like, hell yeah, I'll miss class half hour, 45 minutes. Yeah, I'll go supervise that march over there. Why? Because I don't have to be in class right now. That is the mentality of the teachers. I am saying the quiet part out loud. I dare any former coworker of mine tell me that's not true. I dare you. Anyone that's worked with me, I know. Give me a break. I know. Okay, every teacher knows. This is what's going on in the school system. Oh, and by the way, I'm making a public announcement. If there's anyone that has a friend that's a liberal that wants to debate me and do it on the show, let's set it up. Shoot me an email at patrick@untamednation.com. I'll debate anyone about any type of liberal policy they want to debate. I want to get your voice out there. I want you to be heard. I want to see how you think. And then I just want to have some fun. Because to me, that sounds like a lot of fun. So if you have any friends that are interested in talking with me and doing like, 10, 15 minute little segment on a topic, let them know. Shoot me an email. I'm all ears. Love to chat. Love to get them on air. They can come in studio if they're local in Colorado. I am very friendly. Or we could do it over Zoom, one way or the other. I'm down. Just saying, let's get that happen. Let's start making that stuff happen. Because more of those conversations need to take place too. You need left and right to talk and debate each other, not scream and yell at each other and demean each other. Okay, so we got to keep with that as well. There's another protest yesterday, I believe, and this was in Meadow Creek High School in Georgia. Let's play cut 2. So yeah, that's Meadow Creek High School in Georgia. Meadow Creek High School is part of the Gwinnett County Public School System. They have a $3.4 billion annual budget. Let me say that again. They have a $3.4 billion annual budget with the district that emphasizes student-centered, equity-focused, and future-driven. Well, you want to know how far they're getting into the future? Here we go. Reading proficiency at grade level. Ready for this one? This is the lowest one yet to be reported here on the show. They're at 20%. Math proficiency also at 20%. The Georgia average proficiency for reading at the high school level is 40%. The math average is 39%. Not great numbers, but almost double what Meadow Creek is pumping out there. But yet they got time to go do that. So you tell me what's important to those administrators of that community. Why are those administrators, superintendents, APs, principals, district coordinators, whatever, equity people, whoever you want to call it, why are they pulling down 6-figure racks when 8 out of 10 of their kids can't read? How is that future driven? What does that future look like? Working at McDonald's? No, robots will be doing that job. What does that future look like for those kids? Living on the government dime, doing whatever the government tells them to do because they don't have the skill set or won't have the skill set to be a functioning member of society because the 8 out of 10 can't read or do math. Sorry, that's the hard truth. That's the hard truth. The education system is a complete wreck. It is hijacked by left-wing propagandist communists that think they can do whatever they want to do to our children, and we're fine with it because they are producing the next wave of useful idiots that have no critical thinking skills. That is what they're doing, all while collecting 6 and 7 figures yearly as a yearly salary. Superintendent, 6 figures, probably 7 figures when you include bonus packages. Probably some for the top up throughout any district position, you name it. Anyone working in a district office in a major school district throughout this country is pulling down 6 to 7 figures. That's with pay and benefits package. And yet you have the 13-year-old kid that can't read or write. The grift is real. The grift is real. The equity nonsense in the education system is real. And we are seeing the results of this on the daily basis. Hit the fast forward button by another 10 to 15 years. Hit the fast forward button by another 5 when this generation's coming out. Okay? It's a real problem, and no one's doing anything to address it at the secondary level. Everyone thinks the problem's at the college. Nope. Nope. The problem is not at the college. The problems start before the college. Colleges help it. Don't get me wrong. The colleges definitely speed up the process. But those kids are ready by the time they get to college because they get years of what you just saw. And then check out this website. It's called the Roadmap to Political Revolution. What's interesting about this is that you have the head of the NEA, the National Education Association president on this. Her name is Becky Pringle, and she's featured on it. I believe she's the 2nd or 3rd one in on that picture. She is the president of the National Educators Association, and she is featured in the Roadmap to Revolution, promoting mass disruption. So what is this group looking to do? Take a look here, right underneath there, right? About this event. Disrupt. Disrupt. We need mass disruption to stop authoritarian consolidation. Clear house. We can resoundingly defeat the billionaire establishment on both parties in this year's elections. Unrig. Rebel against the billionaire-run two-party system and for a real democracy that delivers for working people. These are communists. These are activist communists that are in charge of our education system. Why is someone in charge, the president of the national education, why is she involved in this? I'd love to see her on a literacy board or math board. Something education-based. But no, it is the constant hammering. Activism, 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 activism. And it's destroying our kids. It's destroying our education. If you have the ability to homeschool, I strongly encourage you to do that. If you have the ability to send yours to a private or Catholic school, I strongly encourage you to do that because the public school system will not get any better. What really needs to happen is President Trump really needs to pull funding to the public school system that is promoting this type of garbage. You have communist Marxists promoting equity, DEI, all this nonsense that is basically unconstitutional and illegal. Pull their funding. Enough of this. Pull blue city, blue states funding. You can't get federal funds if you disobey federal order. Like, I thought that was a long-established principle. I guess not. Only when we're in charge. It's only when we're in charge stuff like this happens. So you got the hijacking of the school system. And I'll keep, every chance I get it, I will keep highlighting this for you guys as we go. Every chance I get, I will find something out there in the school system because this needs to be here. It needs to be blown up. A light needs to be shined on it because enough is enough. You're going to have a generation of kids completely lost because the people in charge of their education were activist grifters that cared more about lining their pockets than actually setting up future generations for success. We're going to pay a heavy price for this down the road. And what else we have now is we got the 30, 40-year-olds, you know, the first wave of these shock troops have made it out of schools. They're out there. And they want to fight. You see them out there, right? They're blowing their whistles. They're hitting border agents with their cars. They're getting up in ICE agents' face. Well, white liberal women are living for this moment. They're living for it. Let's play C4, Damon.
I have figured out, though, like, why they're so scared of liberal women and, like, why we're so activated is because, like, we've been waiting for this fight forever. Like, finally, like, all the stuff we've stomached, Roe vs. Wade being overturned, like, all the BS about, like, women's rights and our bodies and our autonomy and, like, no-fault divorce. We have been stewing for years. It's in our blood, centuries. So, yeah, we're, I guess, a dog with a bone. Yeah, we're not letting it go. And women who are angry and been angry for a while, yeah, they're scary. I'm so mad and excited.
She's crazy. She couldn't actually physically control herself because she was so angry and excited all at once. She was shaking. But do you see the face? Do you see the eyes? Do you hear how she's speaking? What normal person sounds like this? I don't know. I don't know someone that sounds like that. Like, she's not normal. But that's what a lot of liberal white women are. That's what they are programmed like. And why are they so angry? What are they so angry about? What are they so angry about? Roe v. Wade got overturned. Okay, yes, it got sent back down to the states. You could still get abortion based on where you live. What is she so angry about? Is she angry that criminal illegal aliens are being deported? Or is she mad about that? Why? Why does she want to protect criminal illegal aliens? What is she mad about? I don't get it. But this is what happens, right? I guarantee she has nothing at home, too. I guarantee that's the problem, is that she has nothing at home. I guarantee she doesn't have a husband. She doesn't have a kid. She may have a cat. I don't think she has a dog. Dog will require too much caring on her end. That dog will die from either not getting fed or pissing and crapping in the house because she ain't letting him out. It'll be too much responsibility for her. You could tell she's not good with managing day-to-day stuff. She's not stable. And a lot of liberal women are not stable. They are emotional, irrational wrecks. Why? Why is that? Because of their bleeding heart, their white guilt, that they lived a good life in America where nothing was wrong, crime was tamped down so they weren't victims of anything, that you had it good. And now that America is the most horrible place ever. I can't believe I used to love this country, right? Is that what's going on with a lot of these white women? That the programming is now overtaken and just making them angry even more, like they feel like they've been tricked? I don't know, but it's a serious issue. White liberal, like we did a skit last week on it, white liberal women should be deported. Like, I'll trade a liberal for a Venezuelan baddie any day. Make the trade 1 for 1. Let's make it happen. Right? And I guarantee the Venezuelan women that come here would want to come here and actually love this country, work, and perform well, and not cry about how shitty this country is. And then when the white liberal goes to Venezuela to live, and then she sees what third world life is like, yeah, but now you can stay there because you shit on this country for so long. You don't deserve to come back here. White liberals. So yesterday we had a Colorado state senator talking this, that, and the other thing. ICE this, ICE that. Well, we got another one today, but this one's a Colorado state rep. Her name is Yara Zoki, and she represents House District 52, which covers southern Fort Collins. Who would have thought up there? Let's listen to her. C5.
Fascist thugs do not get to fall back into working for our law enforcement after we abolish ICE, which ultimately is what we have to do, because there is no reforming this. And so I ask you to take care of each other, to stand with us as we continue to push forward rights and resources for our community members. Know your rights. Know that an ICE agent cannot enter your home without a judicial warrant, which is a warrant signed by a judge. And know that we have a rapid response network. If you see ICE activity, the phone number is in the caption of this video, and you can call and report what you are seeing. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe.
So there you go. Antifa, communist, in the state house here at Colorado. Okay, but did you hear some of that? She was talking about the Colorado rapid response, right? So Colorado has a program just like Minneapolis does. Wake up, Colorado. So when ICE starts doing enforcement out here again, are we going to see the same thing? Are we going to see what we saw in Minneapolis out here in Colorado? I guarantee it. I guarantee it. She's also given false legal advice. Border Patrol agents can enter homes if the illegal immigrant has final orders of deportation signed off by a judge. So you might want to get fact-checked there, Yara. Okay, they do not need a federal warrant to go get a illegal immigrant who has a final order of deportation signed off on already. See, that illegal immigrant should have left. When that final order was signed off on by a judge, they should have left. But they chose not to, because who enforces law? Who enforces anything here in America? Oh, now it's being enforced. Everyone's got a problem with it. And, that's what happens, right? I have a toddler. He's about 4. And you know what? When you're not consistent, when Biden did what he did, and when you're not consistent across the federal level and across the state and across the city, across all law about immigration, this is what you get. Because no one's been consistent. No one's wanted to drop the hammer and say, no, this is unacceptable. And this is what we get. We get people that have seen accountability and people being held to the fire for the first time in a long time, and they can't handle it. Excuse me. They just can't handle it. They're not used to it. Yeah, you came here illegally. Let me ask you this. Can I go into Mexico? Can you reverse migrate to Mexico legally? Will they let me just walk across without a passport? Just asking. And then if I do get in there, would they just let me go about my business like I live there? Would they give me free medical care? Would I get a cell phone? Would I get a place to live? Would I get a pair of sneakers? I'm just curious. Would that happen? Because if it does, that doesn't sound too bad. But we know that doesn't happen. We know that doesn't happen. So yeah, liberals. So remember when, I think it was now 2 weeks ago, that the ICE car got broken into and they ransacked it. They stole the rifle, stole some paperwork, found some FBI agents' info on there, right? They tried doxing them. Well, they actually got to one of these ICE agents. They didn't physically get to him, but they got his phone number and they left him a voicemail. So yeah, these are what the liberals do. They look for any reason. I gotta stop calling them liberals. Sorry, they're communists. Every time I say liberal, please ding me in the chat. I no longer consider them liberals. They're just straight up communists. The Dems are communists. So when I say right versus left, it's not right versus, it's right versus communists, because that's what they are. They use all these tactics, the long march through institutions, the intimidation, the harassment on the street, the assaults, right? They do it all. They stay just below that threshold that we talked about at the beginning of the show. They stay right below that threshold where it would be good, where it would be justified to send in the real forces to squash them. But they find other ways to play the game with ICE agents. Let's play C6, please.
You're a fucking fascist pig. You should fucking kill yourself. I hope your wife dies. I hope your mom and dad die. I hope everything wrong that could go in your life happens. You should kill yourself. You're fucking disgusting. I hate you. Everyone hates you. You're a fucking murderer. And all of your friends are fucking murderers.
Your reaction?
That's probably 17, 18-year-old, self-harming, contemplating suicide, they. That's what it sounds like to me in my history. But this is what they do. Right? I'm sure that ICE agent wasn't bothered by it, but when you get 100 of them, you'll be bothered by it. And that's what they do. They look for any which way to make your life more uncomfortable. And they enjoy it. So it's a fight that never stops. It's a fight that we will have to be in forever. Forever. Sucks. Freaking sucks, man. I don't want to have to fight this shit all my life. I don't want my kid to have to fight this shit his whole life. But if we don't fight this our whole lives, then the left, the communists, will eat us and our children. That's the truth of it. They cannot stand conservatives. They cannot stand American principles. They can't stand conservative American principles. So what do you think is going to happen to those people that believe in those when they fully come back to power? And if you don't think they're going to bust the filibuster and they're not going to stack the courts and they're not going to actually change the Constitution and do everything they can to enforce their political will on us, you're crazy. You're crazy. Okay? Look what, once again, I'll go back to Virginia and I'll keep saying this. Look what they did in 48 hours. Look how they organized. Look how they were motivated. Look how they pushed through that legislation to redistrict, to zero out basically the Republican voice in Virginia, to give them a supermajority within the state house, to ram through anything that the communists want in that state. That is the playbook. New York City, Chicago, Oregon, California, Colorado. Keep naming them. New Jersey, Maine, Massachusetts, right? Take a look. 40% of the people living in the Northeast are Republican, but yet they have 0 seats at the table in their state houses. Why? Because of gerrymandering. The communists don't play. They will eradicate until they win. End of story. And then slam you in your face on the way out the door. Curb stomp you. You ever see American History X, bite the curb? They'll do that to us without a problem. So we need to arm ourselves. We need to arm our children. We need to put pressure on those that can make political decisions to do the right thing. And when they don't do the right thing, don't be surprised, be prepared. Don't be surprised, be prepared when the right stuff isn't done. Okay? Don't give hopium. Don't believe that those above us are magically going to do what's right now. Sorry, I had some hard realizations last night. Okay? Don't believe they're going to do what's right now. Put pressure on them to do what's right, but prepare for the worst. End of story. End of story. And this, I want to play this clip as we kind of head winding down the show. There's this guy who gives a very interesting take on these ICE protests, and I think he's hitting the nail on the head here. C7?
The people radicalized against ICE almost always do not have a high-powered career. They are not pillars of their community. They are not pillars of their family, because these are generally people who lack an internal sense of accountability. They do not understand accountability, so when they see the law being enforced, which is a form of accountability, they have a knee-jerk aversion to it. They have an aversion to accountability, and that's why they lead such low-achieving lives. And this is part of a larger epidemic in this country of adults who totally lack accountability. They constantly are blaming their problems on everybody else or the system. A lot of these people are just using protesting as a sense of purpose to fill the void that is their own lives, the lives that they've created for themselves because they have such a low level of accountability. The people who have an actual sense of purpose in their lives are not out here agitating federal law enforcement officers. They're too busy fulfilling their life's purpose in their career, in their communities, in their families.
I believe he summed it up perfectly. Right? We talked about it a little bit on the show today, but that's exactly the truth. Liberals, a lot of these white liberal women, right? That lady we saw about 15 minutes ago, we're so ready for this, right? Her. She's who he's talking about. She has no life, no career, probably no husband, no children, cat lady. They're ready to fight. Typically, conservatives, Republican men, Republican women are family-centered, career-driven, faith-based. So there's a lot of different things we have in our lives that keep us busy and occupied. And yes, they overlap and they're all intertwined and connected, but they're not politically motivated. Everything the left does is intertwined, interlocked and interconnected, but politically motivated. So their everyday life is this political apparatus. Us, our everyday lives are not. That's the difference. That's why the left keeps taking inch by inch by inch, because when they're taking a dump on the toilet bowl, they're planning their next move. When I'm taking a dump on the toilet bowl, I'm figuring out how could I just have 5 minutes of quiet from my kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just two totally different worlds. And I love my boy, but it's the reality. I need a breather, right? There's no breather for the left because they don't need to take a breather because they got nothing. They have nothing. They have the Communist Manifesto. That's what they have. They have that. They got the DEI Manifesto and the roadmap on how to conquer America. And that's what they do 24/7, 365. And us on the other side, we don't have that because we have so many different other responsibilities, goals, life missions, family, that we can't live that way. That's the difference. And that's why the left is always miserable, because they have nothing else to bring them joy. They don't have, and if they have kids, they might not even like them. If you are programmed to believe what you believe as a liberal female woman, and you pump this shit, and you have a daughter, and you think it's okay for men to compete against your daughter, you got mental issues. You are an idiot. You think there's no difference? You think it's okay for your daughter to compete against a biological male in high school? And you support that as a liberal female? You're retarded. And you have zero ability to have any type of logic whatsoever. And you're weak. But those are the people we got to fight against every day. So yeah, I'm encouraged. I really enjoyed our conversation today with Cheryl. I'm encouraged leaving today's conversation. I know I'm usually down in the dumps, not so optimistic all the time. I really enjoyed that conversation today. I know we don't take wins everywhere, but I take them where you can get them. Keep having these conversations. Keep pushing the needle. Prepare for the worst. Love your kids. Love your family. And just be prepared, because the left will always come. The left will never stop. Our job is to be armed, both mentally and physically, for when that day comes. So I'm going to pray us out. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord, thank you for a beautiful day today. Thank you for an opportunity to talk to Cheryl. and having an enlightened conversation. Thank you, Lord, for having my little boy and him lighten up my world every day, even though he has his daddy's mouth. Thank you, Lord, for my family. Thank you, Lord, for this opportunity sitting in this chair, being able to speak for Joe when Joe's not here. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for giving Joe the opportunity today to see one of his enemies in person and hear a little bit of what he has to say. Dear Lord, please watch over Joe as he travels back. Watch over our audience. Watch over our country. Thank you for another day above ground and the air in my lungs. And as Tommy says, the water to drink. Thank you, Lord. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. All right, everyone. I believe Joe will be in chair tomorrow. Have a good night. We'll see you later. Take care.
Rising from the fight for the forgotten and the free, exposing rigged machines, Kuma's lies, Dominion's deceit, pays a grand each day, shielding truth from corrupt halls, but he won't back down, standing tall through it all. Argentina Peters break the chains that bind her tight, hand count votes and one day bring the fraud to light. No more mailing scams, no machines to steal the night. Restore the people's voice, make Colorado right. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true. Badass for the have-nots, fighting through and through. Abolish property tax, cut the tolls away. Shrink the bloated state, let the people have their say. It's our rally call. Truth and freedom rise and watch the tyrants fall. Untamed Colorado, strong and proud. We'll be one man for the people, set our great state free. Help the single moms, bring back trade school strong. Opportunity for youth, where the brave belong. Audit every NGO, ban the wolves that roam. Reclaim our stolen land, bring the power home. Eric Kuma's fraud, Dominion's rigged design, expose the stolen votes, cross the dangerous line. No more victimhood, no chains on you and me. He's running for governor for real liberty. Smash the fraud machine, pardon heroes jailed for the have-nots. Rising truth will never fail. One warrior defies the corrupt elite. Colorado reborn, strong on our feet. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true. Badass for the have-nots, fighting through and through. Abolish property tax, cut the tolls away. Shrink the bloated state, let the people have their say. Governor Oltmann, it's our rally call. Truth and freedom rise and watch the tyrants fall. Untamed Colorado, strong and proud. We'll be one man for the people, set our great state free. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true. Governor Oltmann, freedom forever, Colorado rise. Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann. Rise up, untamed, in the heart of the fight where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to the this untamed fire. We shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real. No more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Truth forever.
True forever.